And the man to my right, Mr. Simon Jordan, has his column, of course, in the Mail on a Thursday morning, and we're going to focus on that. Yes, Chelsea's spending is obscene, but it makes no sense to pull the plug on Poch. And that lovely cheeky little picture of the good man up there on the top of the page. So, Simon, you look at it and you think, in there you say you've got to have another twist of the dial.
Yeah.
What does that look like? I mean, when you think of it, if £1 billion spend wasn't the answer for Chelsea, how much more is?
I think if you, as you say, read the article, it talks about the necessity to sniper gun the deficiencies in the team. The team can't score goals. So without stating the bleeding obvious, it's clear that you need a centre forward. I'm not advocating that Pochettino gets given the keys to the Fort Knox vault and continues to be as profligate as his owners have allowed him others to be. But there's been £600 million spent. It's been £650 million spent over 2 seasons or season and a half net after if you take into consideration what they've sold out the door. Yeah. Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, and whoever else has gone, Callum Hudson-Odoi and a bunch of others, right? So they've spent £650 million net. They've had their pants pulled down because they've not bought players at the right economic values. So when they buy people like Cucurella, they're paying 60-odd million quid for them, they're overpaying. When they buy the boy from Shakhtar Donetsk that they paid 80-odd million quid for, they're overpaying. When they're buying the boy from the Portuguese team, Benfica, I think it was, Fernandes, they've overpaid.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes how good these players are. You wanted Pochettino. You're asking an animal that does what it does. Managers, when they don't get what they want and their team isn't performing, their default setting is to ask for more. You wanted this guy. You got him in the door. Is he doing wonderfully? No. Is there a fundamental change in your belief system that he's the guy to get you where you need to go? If there's no fundamental change in your belief system, then you have to listen to, within reason, as I say, with a tired eye and a weary ear,
right,
to the observation that you need to have perhaps an additional level of recruitment. I'm not talking £200 or £300 million. I'm talking about a sniper gun effect. What is it that we need and what's it going to give us?
But how much will it take? I mean, you're saying in your column you either back him or you don't. Chelsea probably have to go again with Pochettino.
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, Chelsea are in for a penny. They might as well be in for the pound.
Yeah, I'm not being flippant about
So how much more money are they going to spend?
Nothing is finite, is it? And I'm sorry, nothing is infinite. But there is an element of looking at Chelsea, and we make the point about what Chelsea are. They're not a great side. They're not a good team. But their main issue is they can't score goals. And if you look at their goals to shot ratio, they're poor. And their profligacy in front of goal clearly details that if you put somebody up top that can score goals, you might give yourself a chance for a better outcome. I'm not sitting in the camp of, look, it goes on as like an endless casino of consistently giving money. I'm the first person to say to a manager, how about you improve these players? How about you get something from these players? How about you get a little bit more?
But they could spend more, Simon, and still add more misfits to the squad.
But you would like to think that
Are they learning?
The intellect... Well, that's what you've got to price into it. I'm putting myself in a position of being billionaire private equity guys that have bought a football club for a variety of reasons. And one of the reasons is for it to be successful. One of the reasons. Right? And alongside that, what is the tools that you've given people? Okay, you've made, I think, very poor managerial decisions in Graham Potter and Frank Lampard. And Pochettino, to me, isn't the holy grail, but I'm not the one that appointed him. So I'm going to try and put myself in their shoes and see what they've seen, right? And they've seen somebody that will take them to a place where they want to be. So with that in mind, if this guy says in all good consciousness and with the ability to substantiate it and tell them what the outcome's going to be as a result of it, why wouldn't I go again with another 10%?
I mean, you say Chelsea have taken several steps backwards under new ownership and simply aren't functioning properly. There's very little to admire, though.
Is there?
Yeah, but I'm surprised you're not saying they're getting close to enough. Enough is enough.
Well, with whom?
£400 million spend while Pochettino's been there, sizable. Now it's enough.
Yeah,
I know January's just round the corner, but no, we're not going again financially.
Okay.
And you're saying, why not give it another spin of the dice?
I think you're in this mix. First of all, Pochettino spent net 170 million. So with that in mind, you have to factor that into the obscene nature of what we're talking about. I'm the first one to say £1 billion being spent on players to achieve what you're achieving is a little bit of an embarrassment.
Oof, big bit.
And to be in a condition where you consistently seem to be making mistakes. And I'm not going into the Souness territory of because I've mentioned it in the article about having the wrong people around him. I'm not going into that space because Graham's reason for going into that space is to diminish the intellectual capital of people. What he wants to do is do the management technique of, Danny, you lot know anything, we know it all, and you should be listening to us. I'm going towards it by saying you need better people to guide you through the decision-making process. Whoever told them that they had to pay £105 million for Fernandes or got them to that position, besides Benfica, whoever told them that Cucurella needed to go for 60 million quid when the nearest bid in town was Man City and they stopped at 50, whoever told them these things, needs to give them, needs to be removed from the equation.
You and I were on that night when they were trying to get Enzo Fernandez over the line.
Yeah.
And it got to the deadline.
I think they talked themselves into that, didn't
they?
But
15 minutes to go, Simon. They were so hell-bent in going after Enzo Fernandez that they asked for and they got more time after the deadline to get the deal done. I remember I get a text from one of the Chelsea people who were involved in the deal. We have got more time to get this done with Fernandez. So there was no telling them that it was 100 million plus and they were going to go to it for Fernandes.
That's what people do when they have the usual methodology of achieving an outcome is, what is my problem? What is my solution? What's my obstacle? Right, let's move the obstacle out of the way and move towards the solution, which is if I have to pay. Now, that works to a certain extent in every business, and football is no different. But you have to give a little bit of legislation for Boehly and his guys, in the same way you do with Amanda Staveley. Amanda Staveley wants to flap her gums after losing a League Cup final, or telling everyone that they're going to win the Champions League, the Premier League, and so on. We haven't heard any of that from Boehly, by the way. He just spent money. And Boehly's excitement, to some extent, is to be involved in the world of football and make deals happen. I get that. Different quantums, Jim. I'm a deal maker in my business terms. I was always like, how do I do a deal? I'm going to do this deal. I remember different quantum. I remember signing David Hopkin from Bradford and buying it back from myself, selling it and buying it back, and buying it back again, because I was determined to do this deal. I've got a player sitting across the table from me with Jeffrey Richmond, chairman of Bradford, going, I don't really want to come to Palace. I've got the chairman, I'm quite comfortable at Bradford, and me and Ray Houghton have decided he's coming to Palace.
And you did it.
And you do the deal,
what.
and the player was a waste of time for us, and it cost me a fortune.
You see, you mentioned Souness a moment ago, so we may as well just have a listen into that. And I remember it, the two of you clashed in that issue. And Souness, I think his take was more or less, these owners at Chelsea, they think they know best.
When I walked, I didn't think it was easy. I didn't think this was going to be easy. But what you do is you try to cut through some of the drivel that you guys put out there, which you deploy as the.
Can I?
But you do, Graeme.
No,
you do. You say that people think it's easy. No, what people do
I'm
is they
not
get fed
saying
up.
it's easy.
You
Ellis
just
Short
walked
away with his tail between his legs, having spent hundreds of millions of pounds.
But that doesn't mean he thinks it's
Mashiri
easy,
is the
Graeme.
exact same. It's the owner gets a club. They're smart, intelligent, made lots of money. Your man at Chelsea, lots of money in different fields. This job's easy. Look at the intelligence of the people I'm having to work with. This job is easy. Then they start to listen to their own people and have their trousers taken down. It might take them 5 years to learn the game. Abramovich did it.
Graeme,
There's a whole list.
The reason why I'm pushing back against it is
not a one-off.
not disagreeing with the fact that people walk in there with money and think that they can cut through it. And some of it needs to be cut through. But your characterisation is diminishing of people's thought process just because they want to approach it with different disciplines, and then they suddenly realise they've got to pivot because you lot won't allow it, because there's a set way of operating.
There was a very smart journalist in the Sunday Times wrote an article about football ownership. Mm-hmm. Very wealthy,
never having done it, right?
Very wealthy, intelligent men buy football clubs and leaves the brains at the door.
That was Souness. Now listen, to be fair to him, in your column this morning, Chelsea, the ownership, they keep on making the same mistakes because they don't have the right people around them.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately...
That's what Souness said.
But
he beat you to it.
But he's coming to it from a different way. I'm coming to it from the point of view that these guys are trying to affect outcomes that are based upon common business sense and trying to put disciplines in place and give you what you want, which is what football managers normally want, which is inordinate amounts of money, right? What Graham's coming from it is that you're all idiots. We know best. This is the same Graeme that put a player on a pitch for Southampton that couldn't even kick a ball.
But he's saying there's an arrogance about them.
Well,
we know best, and no matter what, you can tell us that, but we're listening, but not really listening, because we're still going to do this.
But that's not true. There is an element of, when you sit with football people, if you're very fortunate, you get people that are completely open, transparent, and want to work with you and help you. If you're in the experiences that most of us have, what they are is bleeding clever, facetious, downright destructive at times, and are not the greatest of people to try and guide you through some of the challenges that you have when you first walk into a football club. Yes, of course, when you're a successful person, you think you can translate some of the skills. And quite frankly, yes, you can, because industries are held together by people working within the confines of those environments, human beings. What you've got to learn is the language of the industry that you're in. and the foibles and peculiarities of it. And when you do land it, Jim, when you do learn it, Jim, I can assure you that when you sit there with your mouth on the floor with some of the crap that you have to listen to and cut through and think to myself, how does this This is why this business is held together by other people's money, because they can't run it properly. They can't run a business. So it's all the owner's fault because they spend too much money. You guys, if you were left to run a football club without some controls on you, it would be in rack and ruin within 15 minutes. If the industry's so wonderful, why do we constantly need inordinate amounts of investment in it?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.